Hello and welcome to another edition of Conversation with First Baptist Church. I'm Larry Dixon, and with me today is Robin Simpson. Robin, it's a pleasure to have you with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we always have questions and like to know more about people that's in the congregation and so forth. So tell me about where you grew up and what life was like as a little girl.
Most of my childhood was spent on a mission field in Israel. We moved to Israel when I was just shy of my 5th birthday. Celebrated my 5th birthday about a month after we got there. My parents' first placement was language study. We lived in an apartment on the beach, and they went to language study in the morning, and we had a lady that came named Edith that kept me and Mark. And then from there, they ran a dormitory for missionary kids that were coming to go to the American International School. So we had anywhere from like 12 to 15 teenagers that were 6th through 12th grade. We lived in a big house. It was kind of like the Waltons around dinner every night. Mom set up a table in the mornings, and you did an assembly line to pack your own lunch and go to school. And I went to school with them and felt like quite the big kid hanging out with the older ones. But most of our time there was spent in a place called Baptist Village. And it was an 80-acre farm. They did some agriculture, so we had big peanut fields and citrus groves. And then we also had a camp and conference center there. And so there were summer camps that ran all through the summer and conferences that ran through the winter. And it was really kind of an idyllic place to grow up. We had a tree house and old Ottoman fortresses out in the woods to go and explore. And there was a river that ran behind, and we'd go fishing. And we just kind of had the run of the place. And it was,
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, kick the can at night, and it was a lot of fun.
So, growing up, what was your dream job?
I wanted to be Maria von Trapp. No. Teaching was kind of my dream job. I played school all the time as I was little. I taught Mark how to read. We had some kids that came and lived at Baptist Village that it's a long story. They were escaping a cult. And so they lived with us for a while they were waiting to come back to the U.S. And they didn't have access to school, and I would come home and play school with them and do tutoring things and that sort of thing. So I always wanted to be a teacher. And I did that for 2 years and thought, this is not a dream job. So I went back to school and got my occupational therapy degree, which an MK had kind of introduced me, an older missionary kid that I adored and really looked up to, sort of introduced me to that field. So
what do you do now?
I'm the occupational therapist for the Round County school system. So I work with kids ages 3 to potentially 21, and working on developing fine motor skills and helping them with sensory strategy so that they can self-regulate in the classroom, and self-care skills, things like that.
Sounds rather challenging.
It's very challenging, but it's rewarding. It's good.
So what brought you to Moorhead?
My dad. When we came back from Israel, he took a job here, and I was 13 years old, and we moved here, and this has sort of been home base ever since. I was baptized up there. Had my high school baccalaureate here. It's the first time they'd had one of those, as far as I know. Molly was dedicated here.
So how long does a person have to live in a place to be a local?
Oh, I still don't think I'm a local. By other people's standards, I don't think I'm a local. And I still find, people will mention places in Round County, and I have no idea where that is. But it is home. It's home for me.
Well, where Lenore and I were from, either you were born there or you were from off.
And I'm from off.
Oh,
Yep,
I know you have a hobby.
I
So
do have.
tell me about that.
I take recycled clothing and make it into mostly stuffed animals, but some other things too. I love to go thrift store shopping, and I pick up wool sweaters and shrink them down, and then make little stuffed animals and other little creations out of them and dress them, and I give them a name. It used to be that I would name them after whatever TV show I was watching while I was making it, or if it just looked cute, I would come up with a name. In recent months, I've been trying to put a little more meaning into their names. So I've chosen different themes and picked out names from history that go along with that theme and give some little background information about that person. I tried to find people that we don't necessarily hear about very often. That's been kind of fun. It's slowed me down a little because it takes a little longer to find the name and that kind of thing, but it's added just another layer of meaning to the hobby, and I've learned a lot.
So now this started out as a hobby, and it's turned into a business.
Yes.
And you are also part of the Kentucky Art Guild.
Yes. So I have a little business, a little side hustle on this, and called Used, and it's EWESED. And then out of that, I applied to join the Kentucky Guild of Artists and Craftsmen. And it's an organization down in Berea, and their mission is to support art in Appalachia and educate people about art in Appalachia, and sort of keep the artistry of Appalachia alive. So, and making sure, keeping it a standard of quality and that sort of thing. So.
Well, it's exciting that this hobby has turned into something much bigger for you.
It is. It's a lot of fun. It's a really great stress reliever, and it's kind of my happy place in the evenings. I have said that if it gets to a point where it's stressful to keep up with, then I'll quit doing it. But so far, I've been doing it for about maybe 6 years now. So I do some of the local shows here. I've done a couple of shows in other places. My car is a little small, so I'm limited to just how much I can pack into that car. But
So you and Joe are what I would call world travelers. So you have experienced many a varied meal.
yes.
What is your favorite?
My favorite meal is anything Joe cooks and I don't have to. I don't like cooking, so it's really great when whatever he comes up with. It's really hard to say. I like trying new things. I think my favorite meal, though, my birthday meal is chicken schnitzel and either broccoli or what we call kusa casserole. It's a green zucchini casserole and mashed potatoes.
Well, I'm with you on the mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Most people have a bucket list, something that they want to do, somewhere they want to go.
Yeah.
What's on your list? Your number one item?
Oh, my number one item. I think travel-wise, I've always wanted to go to India. But it's kind of hard for us to get there on my school schedule because it puts us there at the worst possible weather. I'd also like to just go to New York City and thrift shop there. I think that would be a lot of fun. Molly and I did a trip like that to Chicago last spring, and we just went to all different thrift stores, and we had a great time. And I think going to a big city like that would be fun to.
Well, I think the viewers, the people that watch this, know Molly. Mm-hmm. Give me a little update on what's going on with Molly.
She is almost midway through graduate school at Washington University in St. Louis. She's studying social work. In January, she'll start working for a state representative there in Missouri, doing some policy work in the area of social work. So she's really excited about that. She's dating a guy in northern Kentucky, so she's wearing a path between St. Louis and Covington about every other weekend. And she's doing really well.
Well, excellent.
So,
The next question I had on here was what brought you to First Baptist Church, but we know what that was. It was your dad.
it was. We did move away for a while, and when we came back to Moorhead, this was just the obvious choice to come back. We lived away from Moorhead for about 9-10 years, and well, more than that when I consider going to Birmingham. But in that time, we visited a lot of churches. This was always what we compared those churches to. So.
Of all the characters or personalities in the Bible, who would you spend the day with?
I think Mary and Martha. I think it would be interesting to hear the women's perspective of being kind of in the room where it happened. I think Martha and I would probably bond over to-do lists. I'm very task-oriented, and I think she was too. But I think I would like to take a page from Mary's book and kind of learn how to be in the moment and put aside I think it took a lot for her to put aside the cultural expectations and sit and just be there and soak everything in. And I think it would be good to be able to sit with her and learn how to do that.
That would be an interesting visit.
Yeah.
So, how has First Baptist Church impacted your life?
It's really been kind of an extension of my living room for a very long time. When we first moved here, I was here pretty much every time the doors were open. When you grow up on a mission field, all of the other adults you refer to as aunt and uncle. And it's like they're your family away from home. Some of them are more like grandparents, but they're your family where you are. And I don't think I realized until I came back to this church as an adult that when I left that mission field in Israel, I found that family here. And it took me a few years to realize that. But this really is, I don't call people aunt and uncle or brother and sister, but it really is it's my family.
This has been a conversation with First Baptist Church. I'm Larry Dixon, and with me today has been Robin Simpson.
Thank you for having me.
Robin, it's been a pleasure.